No matter what you're coming up against, just remember to take one step at a time. Even there was things here and there, and it sounds wild to say, having, 12 or so surgeries under their belt to be like, oh, I grew up pretty normal, but I did.
Welcome back to Finding Voices. In the last episode, we met a little girl whose first years inspired the children's book One Step at a Time. But childhood was only the beginning. Today, we meet the woman Camille became and follow the friendships, barriers, inner strength and family support that shaped her life beyond the book. Before we begin, thank you for being part of Finding Voices. If Camille's story speaks to you, please subscribe, share the episode and leave a comment. Your support helps authentic voices reach families who may need to hear them. Now, let's continue her journey. When disability is part of childhood, people may notice the appointments, the treatments, before they notice the child. Camille remembers something much fuller: a mountain town, friendships, adventure, protective sisters, and teachers who helped her discover who she could become. Her surgeries were part of the story, but they were never the whole story. Belonging meant growing up alongside everyone else.
I had a very wonderful experience growing up. I grew up in a small town called Rossland in British Columbia. When I lived there, had about 4,000 people on a good day. I would say a very typical childhood for a kid that grew up in a small mountain town. I didn't experience a ton of bullying. It's because of the small town or that everybody knew my family. My sisters were kind of scary to a lot of people, which was great. And so I think, there wasn't a lot of that until teenage years when things get a little, but it's even that it's not about the disability. It's always about other things. I graduated high school with most of the people I started kindergarten with, which was amazing. It all just felt very, other than, every 4 to 6 months, I generally would go back in for some other type of surgery and be away for a period of time. But even that, my parents would always schedule for when there was no school, so I wasn't missing school. And I was always like, oh, can we just a little bit, maybe just miss a week or two? But no, I was always back in school, ready to go again. Learned pretty much everything that all the other kids did. Skiing, was doing that at the age of 3 or 4, learned how to ride a bike, rode horses. Really just kind of typical mountain town kid. And it's just very special to look back and see all of the different teachers over the years that were just so impactful. Just as for my disability and making accommodations and things. Then also as I got older, I had an arts teacher in particular named Mr. Winkers, and he really pulled out that artsy side of me that I already kind of wanted to go somewhere with it, but wasn't too sure. And having that nurturing aspect at kind of around that 14, 15 age was really pivotal for me. So even there was things here and there, and it sounds wild to say, having 12 or so surgeries under their belt to be like, oh, I grew up pretty normal, but I did.
For Camille, one of the first major barriers of adulthood appeared around something ordinary: learning to drive. The question was never whether she was willing or able to learn. The question was whether the system could give her a fair way to try.
All of my friends were getting their learner's license, and then they were like taking their mom's minivan and doing like runs to Subway at lunch and whatever. And I knew I had to wait. I went and I took my learner's test, and that was all good. But then we had to find somewhere with some type of hand control set up for me to drive. And that was a bit of a challenge. We tried with a company in Vernon, BC. They just didn't have exactly what I needed. And so we went over to Vancouver at GF Strong Rehabilitation, and they generally are reteaching people how to drive after they've been in an accident. I was their first client who had never driven before. And yeah, that just came with a lot of barriers, financially for sure. When it came to, all of my peers, they were paying or their parents, whatever, pay like $95 maybe for a driver's training session. But because I had to have the driving instructor who was trained on hand controls, and so then of course he cost a ton of money. And there was just a few, I guess, kind of shady situations of them kind of getting more money out of us than we really needed to give them. And just the frustration of knowing that all of my peers were taking their driver's test in the next town over, which was slightly bigger than ours, actually had stoplights, but they'd been visiting that town every single day, basically since the day they were born. For me, I had to learn how to drive in Vancouver from a town that doesn't have any stoplights. We have one like flashing amber. I'm about the same size I was when I was 16. I was getting in this big Sprinter van that had been like completely cleared out. And basically like if you could breathe, you could drive. They had it set up so like anybody could drive. But it was a beast of a vehicle. I'm very small. Vancouver was terrifying to learn how to drive in. And I was just so angry that all of my peers got to do their test in a place that they knew like the back of their hand. And then I got driven to a neighborhood that I had never seen before and had to do all of the same things. And it just, that was probably the first time I was really like, okay, there's a lot of system stuff that is gonna be up against me. And again, if my parents were a little bit more reserved, I don't think that I would be driving right now. But they made it happen, just like they've made everything happen. So that was the first, I would say, big moment of like, oh, this is so different and I'm really gonna have to work at this.
Imagine a little girl who has just been born with the same disability you have. Her parents are scared or they are watching this episode. What would you want to tell them?
Yeah, it's been lovely as I've gotten older and, the internet is connecting everybody, and I really have been able to have some of these conversations with new parents, which is amazing because for my parents, I was born in 1994 in a very small town. There wasn't that connection. They really figured out everything on their own. I didn't have a formal diagnosis until I was about 3 years old. And so there wasn't anybody for them to talk to. And so I just really wanted to make myself available for families that are going through this, because there's still children born all over the world today with arthrogryposis, and all of us are born slightly differently. So none of us will come out looking exactly the same. None of our treatments will be exactly the same. And I really just tell them my story, kind of as brief as I can. And, some parents might be questioning amputations or certain surgeries, things like that might, and are very scary. And it's just nice to be able to reach out and say, what, my parents went through that too. And this is what they ultimately decided. And this is the life I'm living now. And I may live independently and I take care of my dogs and I do all these things. And I think it really is just like, me at the point I am now at almost 32, I'm really able to just speak about where I'm at this point. And a lot of times that really is enough for parents to just go, okay, all right, we're going to be okay. We're going to be fine, And so it's just letting them know that even though it looks so scary right now, and when you look at your baby and they don't look like all the other babies, and maybe their legs don't bend or their arms don't bend or their feet are deformed or their hips aren't in the sockets like mine were when I was born, it's scary. It is very, very scary. And all I can do is just let them know where I'm at now and hope that helps them.
Across Camille's story, one phrase has remained constant. It began with learning to walk, but it became a way of facing every unfamiliar road, difficult decision, and barrier. One step at a time does not mean the path will be easy. It means the whole journey does not have to be solved today.
Yeah, I have a lot of belief in myself. I know that no matter what it is, I'm gonna pull through for myself. I'm very nice to myself when I speak to myself. I know that a lot of people aren't. But I figure if you're not, like, who's gonna be? And I think that just the self-talk is so important. I generally, when I talk to myself, I will refer to myself as buddy or kid or, just like a term of endearment that's like, it's a team and we've got this. And so I really think it is just like every day waking up and being like, whatever's coming, I've got this. I know that I can pull through. I know I'm going to make it. And I've got this.
To every young person finding their way and every family facing an uncertain future, you do not need to solve the whole journey today. Begin with the next possible step, then take another, one step at a time. Thank you for watching Finding Voices.
Thank you so much for watching this episode. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Join us for more conversations that matter.